with a particular z-index to put it behind the shadow. I think everything else inside there has z-index auto, and so it will just follow the z-index of the parent.
Okay, so can you tweet Twitter with IPython dev account?
The indexes of certain things. So that might be a problem.
Yeah.
Or maybe not.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the IPython office hours for the 10th of June, 2014.
I'm walking back to my office.
John didn't get any invite.
Yep, I will invite him again.
So is Min around today, Thomas?
Min is at home waiting for a package.
Okay.
So he's logged into HipChat, so...
Hello?
Hey, John. So, yes, we have office hours. I kind of forgot to mention anything about it until yesterday, and nobody has asked to be invited to the video chat.
And there's nothing on Twitter.
Yes, Brian, do you have the... Can you get into the IPython dev account and post the YouTube link?
On Twitter?
Yeah.
Let me see if I have the... Alright, let me go...
I can ping Min on HipChat.
Yeah, see if you can do it faster than I can find the password. Okay, let's see here. Box, Python.
Or we can just post it on IPython dev. We'll just retweet it.
Let's see here.
So otherwise, because I'm not too much involved this time, what news on IPython side?
Hold on.
Sorry, what news on what, Matthias?
On IPython side, because I have notification off, so I don't know the new PRs, the new style, and everything. I'm not aware of anything. It's a good time to speak about what's new on IPython.
I don't think there's much radically new.
Bootstrap 3 is coming soon.
Yeah, Bootstrap 3 will be merged today.
Oh, cool.
I just fixed the Bootstrap 2, Brian. So now I'm doing the shut up.
Okay, sweet. Okay.
We have the notebook format V4, I saw. I mean, at least the
Yep. That's
JSON
merged.
scheme.
Yep. I've done some work refactoring the kernel class so that there's a kernel base that you can subclass and write simple kernels for other languages using Python wrappers or using pexpect.
Cool.
When do you think you're gonna get to the GUI or kernel-related things? Like selecting kernels.
Once people have reviewed my pull requests on kernel specs, so I can get those layers merged.
Okay, I'll read that today.
There's a succession of layers to
get through.
build up, and I've got like the very basic API in, and now there's the command line API for querying and installing kernels in one PR, and the REST API for querying kernels in another PR. So yes, after this, I think the next step is to modify the REST API for controlling kernels so that it has knowledge of, you know, starting different types of kernels. And I'm just going to invite Sylvain Corley into our yes, so the REST API for launching kernels of different types, and then it's into the UI stuff. I've just started working on IPython Home, which will be a system for reporting usage statistics to a central server.
I saw that. What's the central server going to be?
I haven't written that bit yet.
Oh, okay. I mean, like a SQL thing, or like some kind of RESTful thing where it pushes and has a SQL backend, or?
It's certainly not going to be. Certainly, the client isn't going to be writing the SQL. I think it will be like a JSON REST API, and then the server will store it into a database.
Have you tried to talk with Continuum or Enthought that might already have something like that?
No, I haven't. That's an interesting question.
You know, I mean, there may be. I'm wondering if there's another. Hold on. Let me finish the thing I was doing. So, can you guys retweet the?
Already done.
Okay, you already retweeted that.
Oh, you got it. You got it tweeted. Well done. Hey, Sylvain, by the way.
Hey, Sylvain.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'm wondering, Thomas, is if there's a, I mean, sending JSON somewhere is a very generic problem, and I'm wondering if if there's a service we can use that has a JSON client, or sorry, that has a JavaScript client that would basically let us. I mean, and honestly,
the tricky bit. Well, one of the tricky bits with this is that we want a way of having a. It's the question that we've run into from time to time of how do we present something to a user once, because we want to say, you know, is it okay to do this once per user, or once per installation anyway, and store that information.
Per profile, maybe.
Yeah, I'm thinking once per installation. This is going to be external from the profile stuff.
Okay.
And I think it's rather tricky to do that client side in the browser, because all of the browser storage mechanisms are per domain per port. So if you start two copies of the IPython server, then it will see, the one on 8889 will see completely different storage from 8888.
Yeah.
Just ask the server if the user is already registered.
But I wouldn't. I mean, so here's a question: Will the user information we send be sent from Python or JavaScript?
From Python is my thinking.
Okay. Then yeah. No, I wonder. Like I guess part of so this will have to be an open, unauthenticated server then, or we just hard code our auth information for our server in IPython. I mean,
Yeah, then it's not really, there's not really any point in doing that. No, I was just going to, my plan was just to leave it open, trust that no
make
one's,
it and
no
make it
one's
right
sufficiently
only.
interested in gaming our statistics.
Well, and make it right only in the sense that users won't be able to like delete all the records or.
No, it's purely a logging thing. You send information, it records information, and we will have some means of pulling that information out, whether that's a web-based dashboard or just a way to grab a data dump.
I mean,
And obviously, the pulling information out will be authenticated.
Here's a question. So I've been working on writing some code that allows the gathering of user interface data, and basically I want to be able to answer quantitative questions about how I or another person uses the notebook in our like command mode to understand. I mean, I have these vague senses of what feels right in the UI and what doesn't, but it's really difficult. It's very subjective, and so basically, I want to know like what can we use the quantitative data to improve our UI. And
I think Olivier Grisel is working on that with forums on the internet, and they have a way to track how user scrolls and where user clicks are.
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm mostly concerned with our keyboard. I mean, adding mouse events could be later. Now, right now, what I've written is more or less a
so you weren't actually joking when you said, when can I add my keylogger?
Well, no. Well, yes and no. So the version I have right now truly logs every keystroke and the time between that keystroke and the previous one, and then the mode. Right now, it does log everything. It would not be difficult for me to only log keystrokes that our shortcut managers manage. I mean, there's no. I could make it safe so that we're not actually logging everything in user types.
You shouldn't log key. You should log directly the action that are buying. When we go action string callback, because user can remap their keyboard, and you have like different keyboard layout and everything. So you should log the actions.
Yeah, well, obviously we don't have actions right now, but yes, that right now I'm logging the keyboard shortcut, but yeah, that is an issue. But I mean, initially I'm thinking about having core devs gather statistics, and then, for example, like if I taught a course here at Cal Poly, and we have a particular lab, I could install it there, get approval from the users, and gather statistics there. I mean, do you think this would be the type of thing that?
So I'm thinking of it more as like automation of the kind of things we ask in the user survey. So it will report what version of IPython are you using, what version of Python are you running it in, what operating system are you using it on, that kind of thing.
That's Popcorn.
Sorry?
Something like Popcorn.
Yeah. But the API that I'm writing for it is, anything JSON serializable can be sent, and I haven't written the server side of that yet. So, there's no reason in principle why we couldn't use that for submitting other kinds of data. So my model is at the moment that when the server starts up, it will query we'll call a function in this library saying, is this phoning home configured for IPython? If that says no, then it can present the user with a prompt of some kind saying, is it okay if we report back anonymous usage statistics? Here's a link to more details about what we will collect. Yes, no. And then if the user says yes to that, then that's stored in a config file saying, user has approved it, we're collecting data weekly, and it goes to this URL. And then something like, each time the server starts, or it will probably have to be some other event, it can call a trigger function, and that will check when was the last time we sent data, and if that was more than a week ago, then send a new batch of data.
Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, I think it would be really nice to have. I guess I'm wondering if. I'm wondering if it's the type of thing that other projects would want to use, but I guess we can just cross that bridge when we get there.
Well, I am designing this in a way that other projects could use it. Obviously, like anything, going from n=1 to n=2 will probably take some refinement.
Yeah.
But, I mean, at the moment, going from n=0 to n=1 will take some refinement.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's great.
But yeah, I should think more about. I've been thinking about, just very general, versions and platform data. I should think more carefully about how this can be used for things like, reporting how users interact with it and things.
Yeah, I mean, that may need to be a different level. Like, there may need to be different levels of approval that users have to give. But I mean, that's where people who run centralized websites. I mean, it's really nice, right? I mean, you're continually gathering this wealth of data that you can mine to improve the application and sell ads. But I don't know. It's
Yeah, no. Part of my motivation is, website designers have this wealth of data available, and it should be possible to get some of that similar data for writing locally installed applications, as long as we do it responsibly with user consent.
Right, and I would imagine that there are users who are interested enough in seeing IPython improve that they're willing to put up with, an appropriate collection of information. I mean, I count my
Firefox does this. It asks you when you install it, are you happy for us to collect anonymous usage information? And I generally click yes.
Yeah, exactly. No, I would, for software that I care about and use regularly, I want it to improve.
And where I trust that they're not. It's one thing if Firefox does it, it's another thing if Facebook does it.
So you're saying that, well, I don't know what you're saying there, but I understand.
Hey, Luke.
Oops.
Luke disappeared again.
Okay. Yeah. No, I think that's great. I'm gonna I mean, for now, I'll sort of hack on the UI data collection stuff separately, and I need to see sort of basically run experiments on myself to see what type of information do I actually need to gather to do something useful with, and that is not at all clear to me yet.
But yeah, I'll think more about how it might best be architected to deal with, because if you're talking about more like a log kind of information, then that's obviously quite a bit more data, and
yes,
you may want to send it when a logical time to send that kind of data would be, but it might make sense to send it more frequently.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think my first inclination, if it really is just JSON data, my first inclination probably would be to back it with MongoDB. That's
yeah, it makes it easy to store, but MongoDB seems to have people seem to have rather lost their enchantment with it recently. It seems to have come out that it's easy to use because it's not actually doing anything terribly clever.
Well, but I think for example, I don't think we want to use a database that has a very formal, inflexible schema. Like, I think SQL would be a bad option. It basically makes it impossible for us to quickly evolve the data that we're sending.
Well,
just store everything as a string.
We can always grab a dump of the existing data and restart the server with a fresh database storing extra fields.
Well, but I guess I'm looking at it not as fields, but I mean, for example, we want to run a new experiment, and that new experiment involves what would amount to be 10 different new tables, if it's just a simple field change or in a new field, yeah, I mean, SQL is still a little bit of a pain, but when you start to mutate the entire data structures, SQL is just I'm not saying that MongoDB is the best option, but in my experience, the flexibility of that type of store really pays dividends.
Yeah, possibly.
I mean,
I've read quite a few opinions on this, and I've seen a lot of people say that schemaless DBs make it seem really easy, but then when you actually want to do anything with it, you have to deal with the fact that not all your data is stored in the same format, so you have to kind of retroactively apply a schema to it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, every time I've used MongoDB, sometimes I do obviously use SQL, but I think, I don't know, I think it's worth looking at. And part of it is that in contexts where you really need the promises of SQL, in terms of the reliability, the transactional nature of it, like if you're doing bank records or something like that, then I think that the advantages of SQL really shine. But for data where semi-losses are tolerable and stuff like that, I don't know.
Yeah, it's worth looking into, but I'm not entirely convinced that NoSQL is all it's been cracked up to be.
Yeah.
You can also now, Postgres has options where you can store JSON data inside it.
No, absolutely. That would be another. Yeah, and like I said, I don't follow the database stuff to know what other JSON-oriented stores are sort of the best options right now. But I think that something that has some of those characteristics is probably worth looking at. And also, I think if we end up needing a database for the multi-user server, I think I feel pretty similarly that something that has more flexibility is going to be, because for example, I don't. With the multi-user server, every time we change the database schema, I don't want to force all of our users to have to go and do a database migration. Like, I think that should be something that we can do on the fly dynamically, and they should never have to know about that.
Yeah, that's not an inherent property of whether you use SQL or not, though.
I guess I
automate a SQL migration.
Like using SQL commands, though. I guess that's
there are lots of tools out there for database migrations. I'm sure it doesn't. There's no logical reason why it would. You can certainly write scripts to migrate databases. There's no logical reason that it would have to be a button that someone pressed separately.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I don't. I mean, in my mind, those database migrations have always been in the land of DBA type admin actions that someone does on a particular day at a particular time, and they have to shut down the service. And
this is obviously depends a lot on the scale that you're talking about.
Yeah. No.
We're not talking about bank record scale.
No.
Millions of records.
No, but I mean, for example, I think we need to be able to do hot migration. Like, if someone starts to run the multi-user server in a medium-sized organization, it may not be feasible for them to take it down to do database migrations and things like that. So I don't know.
If they're doing an upgrade, they have to. We're not going to support live upgrades of code. So.
Yeah, no, that's true.
And we're only going to. The only reason you do a database migration is if you're upgrading code. So you would have to stop the server and start it again.
Yeah. But no, I think, as you do this, I would say it would be helpful if you can summarize the options for us, because I think it helps us to. One of the main. I don't know. I think it's a competitive advantage for the project, actually, how we pick tools to rely on. And it may be something that you find could be helpful as we do the multi-user server, or we can leverage that elsewhere. So.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Hi, man.
Hi.
Your package come?
Nope. Sometime in the next 14 hours. Or 13 and a half.
You got plenty of coffee?
Yeah,
Exactly.
I do.
Yeah, that's funny. What was I going to say? So, Sylvain, anything you want to talk about, or?
I think Sylvain wants to talk about some widget stuff.
Sorry.
Yeah?
Yes, but before we get into the widgets, hi, by the way. Sorry. didn't say hi earlier. So yeah, we have a few questions regarding the threadlets. So is it actually possible to bypass the threadlet mechanism and change the value without triggering the event in general, or is there a mechanism to do so?
Sorry, to bypass the what?
The triggering of the event?
With traits, I think he means.
Oh, what we were talking about earlier. Not that I know. Min?
Yeah, it's possible. I'm not sure there's an official public API way to do it, but you can definitely look at how the actual things change and cheat. But I think a better question to ask is, what exactly do you want to prevent from happening? Like, rather than the trait change event, preventing the general trait change event, figure out what you actually want to not happen, because you might be able to do that just by having some state, like with don't publish to the front end, change the event, and then all the traitlets events will fire, but it won't actually publish to the front end or something like that.
Yeah.
And that would be a lot simpler than trying to bypass the entire descriptor stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so look into this. By the way, in the first implementation of the com messages from Min, you gave a nice example of the RPC widget on how to instantiate com models from the JavaScript.
Mm-hmm.
Is there like a best practice on how to do this with the Backbone.js models?
Oh, the initiate them from the JavaScript side?
Yeah.
No, it's not symmetric like that right now.
I mean, the message protocol is symmetric, but
yeah.
But widget creation is always initiated by Python.
Well, but com creation isn't.
Correct. Yeah. Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah. There's just the widget manager doesn't listen to com being created from the front end, but with the static widgets that changes.
Yes.
So not yet, but soon.
Okay. So would you recommend a mixed kind of implementation using both the bare com messages and the Backbone feature to do something like this?
I think what you can do is, a mixed situation. So you would open a com from the other end, but in the back end, you would register a target for that com, with a specific name like widget model or something. And then when that target function was ran, that would create a widget and then hook up the com that was created to that widget. And it would be kind of like a hack in that way, but until I get
that's what
done the right way.
Thinking about, but I wondered whether there was a better way, or like something that was already handled in your implementation.
No.
Yeah, not yet. Soon though.
Okay, and then comes. Sorry, I think there is some delay in the sound, so that's why I might interrupt you. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, no problem.
Another question is about this discussion we had with Jonathan yesterday on the fact that child views in widgets are indexed by model ID rather than a view ID, which restricts even though you can have multiple views of the same type for a given model, you cannot have them being children of the same widget.
Right.
I opened a PR. Did you get a chance to look at it yet?
Yeah, so I just saw your message.
Okay.
So that you renamed it into child model views, making it more explicit that it has to be unique. Or
but I also added so then there's a child views which is indexed by view ID.
Okay. Oh, so there is a child view now that is also indexed by view. Okay, so this is what would be useful for us.
Yeah, and it's all working now, so it works with like diffing the list and stuff. It's a little bit more complicated, so you'll have to tell me and see if that's like the kind of thing that you guys need, and then we'll have to review it, make sure that I didn't break anything.
Awesome. Is it also solving the problem with the display event being triggered multiple times when you play multiple times the container?
No, yeah. In fact, Brian and I had talked about this, and it's something that we kind of need to just rethink, that displayed event. He's talking about, he found a bug where the displayed event will get called multiple times because of where it's put in the view.
Yeah, that stuff needs a lot of work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sylvain, the reason why the displayed event got put in there in the first place is some of the JavaScript libraries, they don't work. There's no hook for when the element actually gets appended to the page, so you need to know when it gets appended to the page because some of the code only works after the element has been appended to the page. And so that was a quick attempt.
We played with JS Plum and we have exactly this issue.
Yeah.
So,
okay. Yeah.
Okay. And another quick question, which is not at all related to the widgets. It's about the NV format. It's more something that I do on the side I'm trying to contribute to Spider. And I don't quite get whether NV format.current will actually handle former versions of the notebook format. Is it something one of you?
And NB format, so any version of IPython can open notebooks from any past version of IPython.
Okay, using current.
Right. Yeah, it does an upgrade. It checks the version and then does an upgrade if it's not current. So what you get, if you load with current, what you get is always the current format. And if the file was older, it will do a transform to make it the current format.
Okay. And for example, in V1, V2, and V3, currently there is a package called NBPy, which is plays the role of NBConvert, but be deprecated, right?
Sorry, what? I'm not sure what you're referring to.
There is an NBPy package in NB format of V1, V2, and V3 with an object called PyWriter.
That is not used in V3, I think. It's not used. It's not used by NBConvert. That predates NBConvert.
Yeah.
So we used to have in IPython, used to meaning current stable, but not anymore. Or
just like in Spider, we
used to be able to have like simultaneous save as a script. And that was handled in NB format before NBConvert existed.
Yeah.
And it is no longer used for anything at all, and there will not be an analogous. So we used to have, before we had NBConvert, we had the notion of, all right, save as JSON, save as Python, and that's all going away. And V3 still has some of the save as Py code, but it's never used anywhere.
So yeah, Spider supports 0.13, so we still have to use that. That's why I was asking. Okay.
So if you're talking about you want to convert notebooks to a script?
It's just that Spider is supposed to support IPython 0.13, and therefore NBConvert is not there yet. And we need to use PyWriter, and I was just wondering what was the cleanest way.
What do you use PyWriter for?
To export as a script in Spider. By the way, NBConvert doesn't have a script.
If it were me, I would say that is a feature you don't get. Like you may support 0.13, but it doesn't mean you need to support everything back to everything in. You don't need to support everything that IPython 2 does in IPython 13.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so if you're using PyWriter, only use it for 13 and don't use it in any version of IPython that has NBConvert.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, but that's a dead notion or a deprecated notion. And so the v4 ND format that will ship in IPython 3 will not have any Py writers or anything. It'll only have one writer.
Yeah.
Okay. So thanks for your reply. I will look into the pull request of Jonathan. Come back. Thanks.
Okay.
What happened to the guy that was popping in and out of here? Did he give up, or?
Someone popped in for a while and then disappeared almost immediately.
Maybe they clicked the link on Twitter and didn't know what it was.
Yes, I did wonder if that was the case.
Or maybe they just saw our faces and were like, I don't want to look at that.
No, please.
Alright, so does anyone have anything else we want to discuss while we're doing office hours?
So we're going to try to merge the Bootstrap 3 today.
Yeah, I've been playing with it, and I don't have any comments. It looks fine. I had one comment about a block quote that I think is code to be removed, but
Yep,
I think you saw that.
Yeah, I just saw that.
But from the way it behaves, it seems totally fine.
Okay.
So the inset shadow is being overlaid by some of the elements within the notebook, like
Right.
the order puts it above. And I've been trying to find a solution for that. I tried to set the Z order of the notebook div, which sits inside the div that has the inset shadow, to something lower than that div, but that didn't work. So I looked online and I found that there is one possible solution where you create a div inside that's just an overlay div and set that to the width and height and give that an inset shadow and then set the Z order of that above everything. But I don't know if is that too messy of a solution. It's kind of weird because then I have to worry about it.
Isn't the inside shadow just below the toolbar?
Yes.
Yeah.
Isn't not Bootstrap 3 completely flat?
Well, that is a shadow that we added deliberately, and what we found is that in that case, it's helpful to indicate to the user visually that the notebook is sliding behind the toolbar. I mean, I don't think this is really important. It's a very minor effect.
Like it was fine without. It just kind of felt weird. Like,
Yeah, we can. I'd be fine since it touches so much. I'd be fine merging, and then maybe investigating that a solution to that in the smaller.
Yeah, I mean, the overlaying problem's really not that bad. It's
No,
and we've actually always had it because there's in like collapse and output there's a shadow and figures are drawn over the shadow. So
yeah,
we've always had it for as long as we've had output, I think.
Yeah, the other thing where I'm a little weary to play with the z-index and do tricks with that is that obviously widgets can have bootstrap content and they hard code all their z-indexes.
Mm-hmm.
And so
they put a big warning comment: don't play with any of these.
And so that may be, the problem in itself. So yeah, I'm fine with that. Just basically leaving the shadow as is, living with the. I mean, it's a small enough shadow that when other elements are on top of it, it doesn't look horrible. It just looks like the shadow's not there.
But yeah, and we can. It's the kind of thing that we can fiddle with without holding this PR.
Yep. And then John, the Bootstrap tour stuff is fixed.
Yeah, that's fixed.
Okay. And what's the state of the shadow right now? Do you think it can be merged, or should we?
Yeah, I mean it's exactly the same as you saw it. It's inset.
Okay. I think it can be merged then.
Yeah.
There's a button. is that it for office hour, or do we want to stick around for a while?
What time is it?
It's 10 to 11.
I
Yeah, but
saw
the-
somewhere somebody wrote a fast Python ISO 8601 datetime parser. I know we pass quite a lot of dates out of JSON messages. It's probably just
Can you post a link to
Well-
that? Is that?
yes. Yeah, it's just hang on. I have to copy it off my tablet.
That looks a lot like a notebook.
I'm gonna remove that block comment.
Yeah, that might as well. That's not.
Yeah, we could consider. It looks like it's. I mean, it's compiled, so I don't. We would probably want it to be an optional. But yeah, we could,
Yeah.
we could-
And I don't know that it is necessarily. I don't know that that's passing those dates is ever a limiting thing for us. Just I saw
yeah,
it and
I
thought it
really
might
doubt
be
it.
useful to remember a bit.
I would guess that the. Oh wait, actually, date util. Yeah, so we don't use parse because we don't use. So we probably do what we probably do is more similar to theirs than what he's comparing to, right? So they're passing it to date util, which is like this could be any kind of date, and it's got all its logic.
Yeah.
You know, this could be a human readable date. This could be all kinds of crap. But we only have ISO 8601 dates, so all we do is regular expression match 8601. If so, stir p time or whatever.
Yes, but this is.
So I suspect.
I think that what they were saying is this is faster than the
What
stir
I'm
time.
sure that what we do is a lot faster than the date util approach
Yeah, but they were comparing
because we do so much less.
They were comparing with stir p time.
I imagine
as well.
it's not as fast as theirs, but
Yeah, I don't know that daytime parsing is in our critical performance path. I mean, it could be, but I've never.
we do call it a lot. But it's not. I don't think it's that. Actually,
Yeah,
I think we used to call it a lot more, but then we found out there were problems with the way we were doing it. So we actually call it a lot less than we do.
Okay.
We call it a lot less than we did until recently.
Yes.
Yeah, we can easily look at what it does and see if it's worth having it. If this is available, let's go a little bit faster. I suspect it won't be, but it's worth looking at.
Yeah. It just occurred to me when I saw it that it is something we do quite a bit.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah,
Sarah?
I think the rest of the topics probably make sense to just wait till Thursday. So I just merged Bootstrap 3, so we are on Bootstrap 3 now.
Hooray. So are we shutting down?
Sure.
Yep, I think so.
Uh,
Thank you, Internet.
Brian, can you stick around a bit after the thing? I mean, on other channels, but
Yeah. Well, actually, I absolutely can.
Let's say bye-bye to the Internet and I'll stop the broadcast.
very well, Internet.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.